Good morning, everyone. Yeah, very good morning. Shall we begin with the session? There are three basic patterns of the office solution that is today's topic. And these three basic pattern models explain about the developer, how developer pattern and build their office solutions. There are three parts. And most of the solution built using the Office follow one of the three patterns. One is Office automation executable, one is the Office add-ins, one is the code behind an Office document. So there are three parts: Office automation executable, Office add-ins, code behind an Office document. So this automation executable is a program that's separate from the Office that controls and automates an Office application. So whatever the behavior, whatever the application that we are using up that controls an automation behavior, that controls an application that is used with the automation executable that can be created with the development tools such as the Visual Studio. And this is the typical example that we are following up for the standalone console application or Windows Home application that starts up an Office application, then automates it to perform some task. So whatever the performance, whatever the criteria that is using up, so that performs some task that automate it to perform some values. And to start a solution built this way, the user of the solution starts the automation executable. That makes it, in turn, start up the Office application. Unlike the other two patterns, this automation code does not run in the Office process but runs in its own process. So that talks cross process to the Office application, whatever the automated, whatever the process. So there are three parts: Office automation executable, Office add-ins, and code behind an Office application or document. Now, what is an add-in? That is additional facility that Office loads and creates when needed when it is used. And add-in runs in process with the Office application instead of requiring its own process that is separate from the Office application. Whatever the separation, whatever the tools that we are using up to start a basic application, to start a solution built this way, the user of the solution starts the Office application that is associated with the add-in. Now there are two parts, add-in and the Office application. Okay, just wait. Let's begin with the session again. So when we talk about the automation executable, that is a program that is separate from the Office applications. It controls Office application that controls an automation Office application. And whatever the automation executable that can be created with the development tools such as the Visual Studio. And this example is also used with the Windows Forms application that starts an Office application, then automate it to perform some tasks. To start a solution built this way, the user of the solution starts the automation executable, then start up with the Office application. Then unlike these two patterns, the automation executable or automation code does not run in the Office application, but it runs in its own process and talks about the those processes to the Office process being automated. Then next is we add Office add-ins to the executable product that becomes the add-in class, that is an assembly DLL that loads, creates, and maintains whenever it is needed. And when we talk about the add-in development process with the application or Office application, instead of requiring its own process, separate from the Office application or Office application process. And to start a solution built this way, the user of the solution starts the Office application associated with the add-in object. So whatever the add-in object, whatever the data that we have, so that add-in object will be used with the Office application. And Office detects a registered add-in startup and loads them. An add-in can customize an Office application in the same way that the code behind the document can. Whatever the document that we are using up, that is used with the behind the document, and there's a code that unloads when the document associated with the code is closed. So whatever the document that they have, whatever the document or whatever the criteria that they have, they are using with the criteria that they are using up with the document associated with them. And there is an add-in that can remain loaded throughout the lifetime of the Office application. And whatever the code that is used behind the pattern was popularized by the Visual Basic Code Applications, that is a VBA, that is a simple application project environment. This is included with the Office that enables the developer to write Visual Basic Code, that is the VB code, against a model or against the object model of a particular office application. So whatever the application, whatever the office application that is used with the associate code with a particular document or the template. And that template can be associated with a C#, Visual Basic Any Programming Language using the interface that is a VSTO. And to start a solution build this way, the user of a solution also depends upon the document that has a code behind it and also creates a new document from a template. This new template will be used, that is the code behind the document that customizes the Office application in some way while the document is in open condition. For example, when we say about the code that behind the document might add some menu items that are only present when the document is open or associate the code with the event that occurs while the document is in open condition. The document provides with the associated code provides with the document that will be used to customize the products. And we discussed two advanced patterns later in this book, and the server document pattern involves running code on a server to manipulate data stored, starting with the Office application, and the scenario will be cached up, will be used to make the cache data. And this XML and the SLT pattern is also similar to the server document pattern that involves writing the code to generate Word or Excel document, whatever the document that we can. So we can make or we can generate the Word document, Excel document in the word processor or the spreadsheet ML format without sharing or without starting the Office application. And these formats can be generated also by applying an SLT transform to some XML data. So this works with the XML in the Excel, this works with the XML in the Word. Now when we talk about the hosted code, so this add-in and the code behind the document will be used are sometimes known as the hosted code. So whenever we combine hosted code, whenever we combine whenever we combine code with the add-ins, so there's the behind the pattern that are sometimes known as the hosted code. So when adding and the code behind the document patterns are sometimes known as the hosted code, that means your code runs in the same process as the Office application. So whatever the process, whatever the content that we follow up, so that makes the code runs in the same process. And for the code to run in the Office application process, the Office application must be able to discover your code, loads the code into the process space and run your code. So whatever the code that we generated out, so that makes a coding into the process space. And these add-ins are also registered in the Windows registry so that Office can find and start them. So whatever the document that we have, whatever the registry that we have, that seems a little non.NET, but this is necessary because when we say about the Office 2003, that talks to the add-ins as if they were COM objects with a COM intro. Yeah, they are COM objects, we agree, but they are becoming a COM intro. And this data, this code behind the document pattern does not require any registry entry. And instead of this, a code is also associated with the document by adding some special properties, whatever the special properties we have, whatever the data we have, so that will be against the registry entry. So instead we are using some special properties, how it is generated with the document, how we can read them by making the document open. Next is, what is the context that is provided to the hosted code? The context is that you need to get the application object or the document object for the Office application into which it is loading from. And COM add-ins are provided with the context through an interface implemented by the add-in class. These add-ins in the VST are also provided with the context through a class created in the project that represents the application being customized. So whatever the application that is customized, whatever the class that they have, so they are created on the basis of the application being customized. And this code behind a document in VSTO is also provided with the context through a class, whatever the class that they have created in the project that represents a document being customized. Now how code gets run after startup. So after hosted code starts up, code continues to run in one or the more domain ways. Code runs in response to the event raised by our office. So whatever the event that we raise, whatever the code that we are getting out, that code runs after each and every startup that is in response to the event that occurred in the same application, that is the office application. For example, when we say about the office, that raises the event when a document opens or a cell in a spreadsheet changes. That will lead to a simple class that listens to the activate event. And typically you will hook up with the event listeners that's shown up when the initial entry point of their code is there. Then interface methods, that code and objects that is provided to the office that makes an initial call during the runtime of the office application. Initially, for example, when we use the office turnoff or the user turned off the formatting, so this calls the on disconnection method on the IDTE extensibility interface that is implemented by the Chrome panels. This also makes an initial entry point to join. Then there is a code that is generated behind the class. So just read out for 2-3 minutes. If there is any doubt, then please clarify the doubts. Next is how the event raised on the code behind the classes. So whatever the one part is left, that is an interface method that called in on object provided to the office. So whatever application we have, whatever the data we have, that is used for the startup class for a core items that implements an interface known as the IDTE extensibility tool that has the methods that Office calls during the runtime of the Office application. Now let's take an example. For example, if the user turned off the items, we can say, so the Office calls the onDisconnection method on the IDTE extensibility interface that is implemented by the items. In this way, additional code also runs after the initial entry point has run. And in this case, the event raised on the code behind the classes, so whatever the code that is generated in the VSTO project that represents the customized application or document handles the startup and the shutdown events. And after the constructor of the class executes, Office raises the startup event, and when this document is about to be closed, Office raises the shutdown event. So there is a startup event, there is a shutdown event that needs to be closed, that needs to be get together with the code. When the code gets unloaded or it is loaded, this document raised to the shutdown event. Next is how code gets unloaded. So your code gets unloaded in a number of ways, depending on the development pattern we are using. So that pattern may be used, but what method we are using, what method we are taking up. And if you are using the automation executable pattern, your code unloads when the automation executable you have written exists. So whatever the automation executable, whatever the data that you have, so the UI code will be executable for the automation. And if you are using the add-in patterns, your code unloads when the Office application exits, when the user turns off the Office add-in products via add-in management dialog. And if you are using the code behind your pattern, your code gets unloads when the document associated with your code is closed. So whatever the document that we have, whatever the cycle we have, so that document is associated with the code that is closed. And in the hosted pattern of running code, there is some method that is no event that is raised notifying you that you are about to be unloaded. And for the Office add-ins, this Office calls on disconnection method that is used behind the document and the Outlook add-ins. This raises a shutdown event also before your code is unloaded. Then Office Automation Executable. So this section also considers each of these three patterns of the Office solutions that uses the automation executable pattern, startup pattern for the Office application in a stateful manner, in the slightly, we can say, the new instance of the application that is associated with the Office application. And because this automation executable controls Office application, this automation executable runs code at startup and any time thereafter when executing control returns to the executable. So whatever the executable, whatever the automation executable that uses new to create an application object. And this application or automation executable controls the lifetime of the application by holding the created application object in a variable. So whatever the variable that we have, whatever the data we have, that controls that holds down the application object in a variable. And this Office application determines whether it can shut down by determining the reference count or the number of clients that we are using up in the application object. So these will be determining, these are the reference counts that are determined. So there are multiple applications, there are a number of clients that we are using up in the application object. And this soon will be used as soon as we are using the new application or new product that is used to create the My Excel app variable. This variable will be used for the Office automation or executable with the Office application by creating a new instance of the application by showing its window, which proves to be very useful for automation without discarding the users by popping up the windows. For example, let's see an example right now. We take two variables. One is the visible property of the application object to retrieve, and if you make the main window visible, the user controls the lifetime of the application. Lifetime in the sense? Yes, exactly. Whatever the data that we have. They have a different variable, they have a different garbage collection, that is garbage collected. And Word also behaves differently. The application exits when the user quits the application, even if a variable is still holding an instance of Word application object. That variable is still going on, holding an instance of the Word application.